Okay, so a lot of people are probably wondering, now that we have peace between Hamas and Israel, and we've been it's been all the free Palestine, everything going on. Um, so why were they even fighting? What was it all about and everything? Um, and if you were like me, growing up, studying the Bible, um, where did Palestine even come from? So I'm going to break it down here as simple as I can. So the land that we now call Palestine was originally Judea, home of the ancient Israelites. After crushing a Jewish revolt in 135 AD, the Roman Emperor Hadrian tried to erase Jewish identity from the map. He renamed the province Syria Palestina, borrowing the name Philistia from the old Philistines, ancient enemies of Israel who no longer existed. That's where Palestine comes from. It's a Roman political rebrand, not a native ethnic group. It's just it's just a rebrand. I mean, it's like somebody deciding to name Tampa um, just pick a name. I mean, because he just picked a name out. I mean, well, he didn't just pick a name out of his hat. Um, the whole idea was, I mean, he's trying to eliminate the Jews, so he purposely picked a name derived from one of their long-term enemies that they had wiped out, so it would keep that name alive. Because if you remember the David and Goliath, Goliath was a Philistine, So, yeah, it was just kind of sticking it to him, naming it after their longtime enemies. So Palestine is just a twist of the Philistines. Um, so that area is, I mean, it's part of Judea, just rebranded by the Romans after the Romans kicked the Jews out. So after that, after the Romans kicked the Jews out, some of the Jews stayed, but most of them were scattered around the empire. Over the next centuries, the area was ruled by others, the Byzantine Christians, then Muslim Salafites, then the Ottoman Empire. The people who lived there gradually became Arabic speaking and Islamic, though still ethnically Semitic like the Jews. Those descendants are today's Palestinian Arabs. But you have to remember that the Jews and the Arabs both trace their rates back to Abraham, the same patriarch honored in the Bible and the Quran. Through Isaac, Abraham became the forefather of the Jews. Through Ishmael, he became the forefather of many of the Arab tribes, including those who later settled in the Holy Land. That means that the Jews and Arabs are literal cousins descending from the same family line, and they both refer back to their father Abraham. So for the Jews, this land, the ancient land of Canaan, was their promised land given by God through Abraham's covenant. They lived there for centuries before being conquered and scattered by foreign empires, finally pushed out by the Romans. The Arabs, who did not have a promised land or tradition of their own, later inhabited the same territory after the Romans expelled the Jews. Generations later, their descendants claimed the land as theirs because their family had lived there for, you know, 1,000 years. Um, I mean, hey, you left it, now it's ours. Which the Jews, not all the Jews left, but most of them did because they were run off. So after World War I, Britain took control of the area. In 1947, the United Nations proposed dividing it into two states, one Jewish and one Arab, because, again, some of the Jews were still there. And by this time, some of the Jews were coming back. A lot of the Jews were coming back because, again, this was their promised land. The Jewish leaders accepted, the Arab leaders rejected, and launched a war when Israel declared independence in 1948. Israel survived, expanded, and the Arab Palestinians became refugees. Ever since, both sides have claimed the same homeland, especially Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. Now, they kept fighting because Israel believes it's reclaiming the ancient homeland promised to the Jewish people. Palestinians believe they were displaced from their land that their ancestors had lived on for, hundreds of years and want their own independent state. Because up until that time, the Arabs, were kind of a wandering people, and now they found a place to live after the Jews moved out. The result has been decades of war, peace talks, and unrest, both sides holding history on one land and heartbreak on the other. So, seriously though, they're cousins. They both come from Abraham. They're literal cousins by blood, bound by a shared ancestry, even though they've been divided by empire and religion. If the descendants of Abraham could ever remember that they're family, not enemies, then maybe peace in the promised land wouldn't be impossible after all. Because don't we all say that family's more important than, politics or religion? Don't we all say that? I don't know. But anyway, that's, for those of you that are wondering, where Palestine came from and what they've been fighting over, there you have it. So it's kind of like, you got evicted from your house and your cousins moved in and you came back and you want your house back. That's a short story. Have a good day.